And he laid his hands on every one of them that were sick with diverse diseases and healed them. Now, only Mark, and cast out many devils. And he cast out many. Okay, he is not there. He is here in Matthew, but it's not there in Mark. I could combine and cast out, but it says here in Matthew, the spirits, whereas in Mark it says many devils. I don't know if I could put both. I could put devils' spirits, but devils don't have body, they just are spirits, so I don't think I want to say that. I'll just leave it as devils. Although, remember when I was talking about that doctrine that unclean spirits are different from devils? If I put spirits, it might leave room for that because it's not clear which is being cast out. But if I say devils, it is being clear. It's saying definitely demons, not unclean spirits. I think I'll switch it from devils to spirits, because the word devils is used so often in here. 1, 2, 3, 4 times in this paragraph. So I'll switch it to spirits, and it's just from Matthew. So this is red spirits. But I have to then add and cast out. And cast out. The word he is added here in Matthew, and cast out many spirits. Oh, I could put the and he at the beginning of that sentence and say that's all 3. Yeah, so that will be gray. And he. Now all that's left in here, this part of Matthew, is just cast out. So cast out is now going to be Matthew and Mark. The spirits, many spirits. Okay, it's not many spirits, you cast out the spirits. I'll say the instead of many, because in the very next sentence from Luke it says, and devils also came out of many, crying out and saying. So many is already used. I'm gonna put the spirits. Okay, the spirits with his word. And healed all that were sick. Healed. Okay, healed is from all 3. I want to include the fact that he's casting out the spirits with his word. So I think I'm just going to put that after the spirits. Yeah, with his word. And healed all that were sick. Okay, that were sick is earlier. So that were, I'll just put that here with Matthew. That were sick is all 3. The last thing is this last portion of verse 16. And healed all that were sick. I have healed. I just added that to where healed already was, and I turned it gray. And that were sick, I have that back in the section where those words are, that were sick, and I just added it in that it's Matthew as well. But the word all, I don't have anywhere. Actually, and can be both Matthew and Luke. So that's going to be orange. And healed, I think that's where I'm just going to put it. After and healed, and then before them. So and healed all them. So now it's, yeah, that looks fine. And healed all them. Yeah, this is good. The next verse in Luke says, and devils came out of many, crying out, saying what they're saying. In Mark, it's a continuation of the same verse saying, and them that were possessed with devils. And devils came out of many. Or saying, and cast out many devils, and allowed not the devils to speak. Okay, so, and cast out many devils, and devils also came out of many. So, and cast out many devils, and devils came out of many. Okay, the fact that he's casting them out is the important part, not just that they're leaving. And cast out many devils, and devils also came out of many, crying out. Okay, so I think that I can put both. I can start with what's written in Mark saying, and cast out many devils, and then put it from Luke because he's talking about the devils came out of many crying out and saying, you are the Christ. Maybe not all of them were crying out, but in verse 41 in Luke where it's saying the devils also came out of many, I could use this as a later sentence just to say that these devils are crying out saying, you are the Christ, the Son of God. So I think I can put them both. And cast out the spirits with his word. And devils came out of many crying out and saying you are the Christ. It might be a little weird, but I think it's okay. So I'll try it and see how it looks. I'll have the period from Luke and devils. So I have to put that later added portion in Luke because in Mark it just says, and allowed not the devils to speak because they knew him. It doesn't mention what the devils are crying out, but that's an important part of the story. So I have to put this, and I think that's fine adding the whole verse, although there's only one and I said I used them both already. But if I use only the one from Mark, I'd have to use the fact that it's lowercase, because it's part of verse 34. Okay, I think that's okay, because that'll just be a little bit longer of a verse. The comma is part of Mark. I could say period, healed them. Okay, I could use the period and the and from Luke. So, and devils also came out of many, crying out and saying. I can get rid of this and, because I want this to just be more of an explanation that some devils are coming out of many, crying out, saying these things. Because I already mentioned the fact that there are devils cast out of many. So this is not the first mention of the devils. This is a specific mention of specific devils, demons. So I think I want to get rid of that and. That way it'll read a little bit better. So this is what it would say. And he laid his hands on every one of them that were sick with diverse diseases, and healed them, and cast out the spirits with his word. And devils also came out of many, crying out, saying, "You are Christ, the Son of God." If I just cut out that one and between crying out, saying, instead of crying out and saying, it would make it flow better, but I might be accused of removing from the Bible. I think I'm going to have to leave it. And devils also came out of many, crying out and saying, yeah, okay, I'll leave the and. I always go through this. I'm going to cut this out. No, I can't cut it out. I'll leave it. Saying, "You are Christ, the Son of God." And he rebuked them, permitting them not to speak. That portion is in Mark. And allowed not the devils to speak. So I could say, and he rebuked them, permitted them not, or allowed not the devils. I'll say allowed, rebuking them, permitting them not. No, allowed not the devils. I'll say allowed not. And he rebuking them, allowed not the devils. Well, if I say rebuking them, permitted them not to speak. And allowed, and he rebuking them, allowed them not to speak. Okay, that's what I'll say. I'll say and from both, because it is from both. Now only from Luke. He rebuking them is italicized in Luke, and he rebuking them, allowed not, allowing, allowed not. Going back to Mark, allowed the devils not to speak. Allowed not the devils to speak. I could say allowed them not to speak. No, but I want to put the devils. Permitted them not to speak. Allowed, okay, not is from both. The devils is only from Mark, as opposed to just them not to speak in Luke. To speak is in both. For they knew that he was Christ is in Luke. In Mark, because they knew him. I'll say because. No, for, because, for. They both mean the same thing. It's kind of like the older way of speaking would use for. Modern language would probably use the word because instead. Because nowadays people don't say do this and this for I have a reason. They would say do this and this because I have a reason. Or because of my reason. Well, I have a choice, so I'm going to go with the more common word, because. Actually, it's a comma. Because from Mark. Actually, it's a colon in Luke. I'll just stick with a comma, because it's Mark, and I'm using the word because from Mark, so I'll just stick with that. Comma, because they knew from both. Instead of him from Mark, I'm going to use from Luke that he was Christ. Period. Okay, there's a sentence in Matthew 8, verse 17. That it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, himself took our infirmities and bore our sickness. That could refer to the diverse diseases and those possessed with devils. So maybe I should put that at the very end of this paragraph. Because I was thinking putting it at the end of when it said he was healing them, putting this verse, and then that he also cast out all the spirits. But he took on our infirmities and bore our sickness. That could be both. The infirmities, being possessed, that's definitely an infirmity. I think it's fine. I can put this at the very end. And now this verse at the end, just from Matthew, verse 17. That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses.